drive, deep left field, way back. He's done it! Unbelievable! I've never seen anything like this. 17-16. The Rockies win it!
And that concluded a crazy, wild, unpredictable, unbelievable, holy shit Friday night in Lodo. Yep, Lodo magic lives. And the Rockies come from 9 runs down, not once, but twice, to beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 17-16. More on that in a moment. More on the Saturday affair in a moment. But as we get rolling here in show number 13, tell you about my sponsor, Steel. They're terrific. You know, if you need any product to help in your yard, you go to Steel. It's that simple. STIHL. Go to steelusa.com. Go shopping. See what'll help you. Mowers, blowers, trimmers, chainsaws, big and small. Go to Steel. STIHL. SteelDealers.com will show you where the nearest Steel dealer is in your neighborhood, and I guarantee you there is one because they have more than 10,000 around the country. But I have a garage full of products from Steel. They're the best. The pros use them. You should use them as well. That's Steel, STIHL. Also, Huntington Bank. I was just in Cleveland the other day. Huntington Bank is everywhere in the Midwest, and now it's everywhere in the state of Colorado, 37 branches. And with one also right around the corner from you, you're going to see personalized banking at its finest with Huntington Bank. And we're presented by Huntington Bank proudly, where banking just clicks. Try asterisk-free checking with no monthly maintenance fee, no matter what. So Colorado, it's your money, so keep more of it. Make the switch today at huntington.com/your money. So Steel and Huntington Bank, big thanks as always to them. All right, back to Friday night. I got asked on the concourse today, this is Saturday evening as we're taping, where does that one rank in the games that you've called through the years? It's right near the top. Obviously, it's the forefront of my memory. It's most comparable to that ball game, and old-time Rockies fans will remember this, in 2008, when the Rockies, on July 4th, everyone's at the ballpark, there's close to 50,000. It's a beautiful night. They're waiting fireworks afterward, and the Rockies fall behind by 9 runs to the then Florida Marlins. Of course, now they're known as the Miami Marlins. And the Rockies come back and amazingly win 18-17. One of my partners was involved in that, Ryan Spilborg. Spilly had a big night. He had 4 hits. 2 of his teammates also had 4 hits in that affair. 18-17. That was as wild and as crazy as I can ever remember until this Friday night. The Rockies in 2008 were coming off a World Series. They had a lot of talent. Now, I know 2008 didn't go well. 2009 went much better. Postseason team. 2010 should have been. But the point is that 2008 team had a lot of really high-quality players. We know where the Rockies are here in 2025. And they've played much better in the second half. We'll get to that more formally in a moment. But listen, you're not expecting the Rockies to do miraculous things. And on Friday night, given that the Rockies began the day 28-80, and then they fell behind 9-0 to the Pirates before they came to bat, I know what you're thinking at home if you're still watching. You had to, I guess, in the ballpark. It'd be too early to go out in the Lodo. But you're like, oh, man, oh, well, I'll have a cold one and, enjoy my friends or my family, whoever I'm with at the ballpark, at home. If you hung in there, maybe your clicker broke, who knows? It's 9-0 before the Rockies come to the plate. And I was thinking, didn't verbalize this on television, I'm thinking, is this going to be one of those nights where that 21-run game, the Padres, the whooping the Rockies suffered earlier in the year and was 21-0? Are we going to revisit that kind of total for runs scored? So anyhow, the Rockies do, to their credit, they get a run in the first inning. It's 9-1, and the thing unfolds and the Rockies kept chipping away. They were down by 9 again later on. The Rockies got it to 15-10 after 5 innings. It's 15-10. And I said on the air, because sometimes you just have this feeling, and maybe you do at home as well. You had the feeling that I don't know if the Rockies are going to win this, but I don't think 15 is a winning number because the Rockies just kept scoring. And I did say that. And then lo and behold, it gets to the 9th inning and it's 16-12. So everything that's transpired has transpired, but now there's only 3 outs left and you're down by 4 runs. So even in a more conventional game, let's say you're down 5-1, 6-2, normal score in a baseball game, overcoming a 4-run margin is most difficult and most unusual. In fact, it's not even, quote unquote, a save situation for whoever the opposition is throwing in the 9th. That's where the Rockies were. They were down 16-12 with 1 out and no one on base. So now the Pirates are 2 outs away. Hunter Goodman hits a home run. Hey, nice, strong, 16-13. Nobody on base. It's not like there's a rally going. It's a solo home run. And then the rest of that inning unfolds. And by the time Brenton Doyle came to the plate, Dennis Santana, who, oh, by the way, had given up only 1 home run all year, and then Goodman took him out. And he'd been sensational. And I know Pittsburgh had blown up their bullpen a little bit with the hometown kid David Bednar going to the Yankees earlier in the week. But Santana is not chopped liver. This is a veteran guy who had outstanding numbers coming into the night. But by the time Brenton Doyle stood up there at the plate, and now he's the winning run, you're like, no, he's going to get it done somehow, some way. Or he's going to keep the ball rolling or the line moving. Probably a preferable way to speak to that. And what does he do? He launches a slider that doesn't do much over the left center field wall for his, his 4th hit of the night? I can't even keep track. I think it was. And it's a walk-off 17-16 win for the Rockies. Amazing. I mean, truly remarkable. And that's why I know it's cliche to say this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. That's why we love sports. And that's why baseball is so romantic, because even in a horseshit year like this has been from a record standpoint with the Rockies, you can have moments like that. You can have moments where you stop in your tracks and you say, what did I just see? And baseball has more opportunity to provide that because there's no clock and you play 162 games. And I'll be the first to admit there are many games that are nondescript that fall by the wayside in the spring and the summer, but then there's ball games like that. Just like we can still recount July 4th, 2008, we will remember August 1st, 2025, when the Rockies were down 9-0 in the top of the 1st inning and came back and won. They were down 4 runs in the 9th and came back and won. 17-16. So right up there with the 18-17 game many years ago against the Marlins. It was spectacular. It was beautiful. And then there were some subplot stories. Like the guy who got the win, Dugan Darnell. If there's a Rockies fan out there that knew who the hell Dugan Darnell was when the calendar flipped from July to August this year, God bless you, because you are as hardcore a Rockies fan as there is. I will be honest with you, I had just heard his name earlier in the week. And naturally, because it is my job to learn these players and learn the storylines, I did some research on Dugan Darnell, and I love the story. How can you not? This was a Division III two-way player his senior year. Prior to that, he was a third baseman at Adrian College. And I know D3 baseball because 2 of my sons played D3 baseball at the highest level of D3, Webster University, Denison University. Adrian's a really good school at that level. They also have, by the way, a really good D3 hockey program. So Darnell had a nice career there. He hit over 300 and, had some home runs. He did not pitch in high school. He did not pitch until his senior year of college at Adrian. And he put up really good numbers. He had an ERA, I think a sub-2 ERA, more strikeouts than innings pitched. And then he was looking for a professional job. He went undrafted. He ended up playing indie ball for a couple of years, put up good numbers in indie ball, reached out to all 30 affiliated teams. And this is where the Rockies deserve a lot of credit. You never know in this game, more than any other, where talent can come from. We just saw a Division III player elected to the Hall of Fame, Billy Wagner. Every baseball player reaches their prime or the height of their abilities at different times. The kids that are more polished and physical in high school and throw super hard especially, they end up at Division I programs. But there are many, many players that arrive later on in their development. And those guys end up at D2 and D3 and NAIA programs. Some go the junior college route. But you look at the population of players in the big leagues, and yes, you see many from LSU and Arkansas and UCLA and Florida State and the University of Miami. And you also see kids from schools you've never heard of. So it's a beautiful thing in that regard as well. And this kid goes out there and shoves for 2 innings. I think there was only one base runner. And he ends up getting a win in his major league debut in front of friends and family. It's kind of a smaller part of the overall evening, but I didn't want to leave out Dugan Darnell, who 24 hours later, because Seth Halverson had to walk off the mound in the 9th, and we'll get to Saturday's game here momentarily, he came in and got the final 3 outs. So he threw 3 innings and 2 ball games in less than 24 hours, really about 18 hours. He didn't get a win today as he did in his first game. Didn't get a save either because when he entered the game, it was a 4-run lead. He did give up a solo home run, but he's not afraid, man. He throws strikes, fills up the strike zone. The stuff's in the mid-90s with a good breaking ball. Excited about what we're seeing from Dugan Darnell. Going back to Friday night again, and really over the last week, how about Warming Bernabel? Warming Bernabel is a name that, if you followed the Rockies closely in their farm system, you'd heard of him, but he had fallen out of favor a little bit. He was taken off the 40-man roster earlier this year, which is indicative that the Rockies, didn't see him certainly in their immediate future. And maybe if he was picked up by someone else, they wouldn't have seen him at all. But to his credit, he kept grinding in AAA Albuquerque, put together a nice year there. And the Rockies were not getting production, unfortunately, out of Michael Toglia. There's some injuries. And Warming Bernabel, a week ago, gets called up to the big leagues. And honestly, I had no idea what to expect. I've told you this many times. From a hitter standpoint, in the PCL and Albuquerque specific to where the Rockies play, everyone hits 300. Everyone has a 900-plus OPS. Everyone has production from a power standpoint, it seems like. So if you're not hitting 300 with, an 880 OPS, I'm like, well, I don't know. How good are you? And from a pitcher standpoint, if you have less than a 5 ERA, and by the way, Dugan Darnell did. He had an ERA in the 3s. It jumps off the page at you because it's so difficult to pitch in Albuquerque and really throughout the PCL. Not just picking on Albuquerque because they have a beautiful facility there. So anyhow, Warming Bernabel comes to the big leagues. And from the moment he arrived, he's throwing out line drive after line drive, and it's extra base hit after extra base hit. So now as we take you through Saturday, where Warming Bernabel helped in a huge way, the Rockies come from 4-0 down against Paul Skeens, who's one of the 2 best pitchers on the planet, and he had a no-hitter going into the 4th inning. And the Rockies run off Skeens in the 6th by scoring 4. The big blow was Jordan Beck, a 3-run opposite field home run, right center field. And ultimately the Rockies tie it up, and then they go ahead 7-4, and then 8-4, and they win 8-5. But Warming Bernabel, he has 3 homers, 4 doubles, and a triple, and is 14 for 28 in his first 7 major league games. He has 8 extra base hits, if you added up what I just said, in his first 7 major league games. That has never been done before in a Rockies uniform, and I'm not misspeaking. If you're saying, wait a second, Trevor Story, remember what he did. Trevor hit all those home runs. Trevor had 6 home runs in the first 7 games, but Trevor, through his first 7 games, 7 homers, which is crazy to begin with. But he had no other extra base hits. Warming Bernabel now has the club record. And it looks real. It really does. I know it's just a week worth of games, but he's hitting all 7, and it's loud contact, and it's hard contact against some high-quality pitchers, Paul Skeens included. So that gives you insight. It's not, okay, well, he's hitting, some lesser guys. It's not been the case. And I'll tell you another aside about why I'm intrigued and now really intrigued by Warming Bernabel, and you should be as well. I'm walking down the hallway between the Rockies clubhouse and Cleveland's clubhouse in Progressive Field on Wednesday late afternoon to be precise. And I run into the commissioner of baseball. There's no one else in the hallway. And it's the commissioner and a couple of, his staff members, and Albert Pujols. Said hello briefly to the commissioner. And then Albert came over, and I had gotten to know Albert throughout his Hall of Fame playing days. And we stopped and we chatted. And one of the first things he brought up was Warming Bernabel, because he has managed Pujols in the Dominican, and he had Bernabel on his team this winter. And he said, this guy can really hit. And if you watch his setup, it's similar to Pujols. I don't need to hear anything else. If Albert Pujols signs off on a guy and directed the conversation immediately to Bernabel, I'm in. And the Rockies need good stories. We know that. They need some star-level players. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Again, the kid's got 28 at-bats, and he has 14 hits. It's a phenomenal start. But it is intriguing. And he's got the big stamp of approval from one of the greatest hitters of all time in Albert Pujols. And maybe one of the 3 greatest right-handed hitters ever in Albert Pujols. I got to check my notes because those 2 games had everything. The Rockies now, by the way, in the second half, when you talk about progress, are 8-6, above 500 in the second half. They've now won 3 of their first 5 series. Competitive. I know they had the blowout in Baltimore on Saturday, lost 18-1. But, they were competitive in Cleveland. And 8-6, as I said, 6-2 at home. So go back, remember a couple of weeks ago, and I said, what would constitute a solid step in the right direction in the second half in this season? And I said, how you play, cleaning up the defense in large measure, and starting to defend the home field. And so far, the Rockies have done that. They've won 6 of 8 at Coors Field. They're bringing Loto Magic back with all we've discussed with that Friday night affair, with Saturday again against the Paul Skeens, who his numbers are ridiculous. A sub-2 ERA coming in, and now it's just edged over 2. He had a shutout streak until the Rockies scored against him in the 6th inning of 18 innings. And it's not like, Coors Field got him. He was timid pitching at Coors Field. As I'm sure you're aware, he pitched at the Air Force Academy for 2 years before going 1 year to LSU. He knows all about pitching at altitude. And pitching down at the Air Force Academy, it's higher down there. I mean, that is scorched earth when you pitch at the Air Force Academy. You're going to give up runs. So he was undaunted, unfazed by pitching at Coors Field, and he dominated until the 6th inning. So many, really good things in this second half have already emerged through 14 ball games. Not only the record, by and large, they have played much better defense. And as I said, at home, it's, at least early on, it's that home park that we all love, where you never know what's going to happen. The Rockies are never out of it, and the visitor loathes coming here, no matter how talented their roster is. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about what took place in the ninth inning, which, took a lot of the fun out of the ultimate 8-5 victory for the Rockies. Seth Halverson, who the Rockies listened to inquiries on, along with Victor Vodnik at the trade deadline, but they held on to them because they control both of those high-quality arms for a number of years, and they had a high asking price, which is understandable. But Seth Halverson threw a pitch on Saturday and basically walked off the mound. And I know it's the elbow. We'll find out more. This podcast is going to launch, and you're going to already know more about it, in the coming 24 hours. It didn't look good. And Warren Schaefer said as much afterward. I did go in the clubhouse afterward, and that's frightening whenever you talk about the elbow. You also know that with virtually every pitcher, especially the ones that throw super hard, they're going to deal with the elbow at some point in time. So we'll have more on Seth Halverson and what that situation is in the coming days. But, it did take away a little bit at the end from what was a marvelous Saturday afternoon and that 8-5 victory. All right, let's get to the trade deadline. So the Rockies were active, fairly active, obviously. They traded Ryan McMahon initially to the Yankees, and they got some arms back. They traded Tyler Kinley in a smaller deal to Atlanta for an arm, a right-handed arm. And then before the trade deadline, they traded Jake Bird to the Yankees for one arm, let me correct this, and a second base prospect. I'm going to focus in on two players that the Rockies picked up, both from the Yankees, both in their top 10. Griffin Herring is a left-handed starter. He's originally out of LSU. In college, it was basically a two-pitch mix, a mid-90s fastball from the left side and a sweeper. He's added a changeup, and he's been very effective with that this year. He's starting. He has a sub-2 ERA this year between high A and double A. Actually, let me correct that. It's still it's high A and double A, I believe. Anyhow, there are two things that I always look at with pitchers in the minor leagues to give me a feel for what kind of stuff they have. How many strikeouts per innings pitched? And in the case of Herring, this year, 106 strikeouts and 92 2/3, which means far more than a strikeout per inning pitched. So this stuff is good. It's real. Hits per inning pitch, far less than the number of innings. So that also gives you an indication of how good the stuff is. And the command's good because the overall whip is low. So he's not walking a ton of hitters. So I'm intrigued by Griffin Herring, left-handed pitcher. And the Rockies need some lefties, and they need starters galore. We know that. That is an ongoing huge issue for the Rockies. They have the highest ERA in all of baseball. They have the highest starter ERA in all of baseball. So good pickup, Griffin Herring from the Yankees. And the other guy I want to talk about is the kid who was born to be a Rocky, Rock Riggio. Come on, man. Has there been a more apropos name for a future Rocky than Rock, R-O-C, Riggio? And this is a second baseman at Thousand Oaks High School in Southern California who goes to Oklahoma State and plays for Josh Holliday there. And the Rockies know the Holliday family better than anyone. And he's got pop. He's stout. He's got some moxie to him. And he's had a breakout year this year. 18 home runs between high A and double A Somerset in the Yankee system. a 937 OPS. This guy impacts the baseball. Can run a little bit also. Originally a fourth-round pick of the Yankees out of Oklahoma State. So, Rock Riggio, Griffin Herring, two guys that immediately are in the top 10 with the Rockies' top 30 prospect list. So, it's interesting. We'll see and keep tabs on, on how quickly those guys move. Other teams at the Major League trade deadline. AJ Preller, he cracks everyone up because he's not afraid to make moves. He's not afraid to make huge waves. He's done it seemingly every year. Do you know at the trade deadline, this is a really good Padre team. In fact, today, at the start of the day, they were 3 behind the Dodgers. They're right on their heels. They traded away 8 of their top 17 prospects. And they got Mason Miller back from Oakland, who has a lot of control. And now at the back end, and they already had the best bullpen, arguably, in baseball. But at the back end, you got Miller and Suarez, two guys that throw like 200,000 miles an hour. Flip a coin. And they have other great arms down there. They've made it really like a 5-inning game. They haven't scored like they've hoped to this year. But whenever you have, Machado, Luis Ariz who gets on, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis, they're going to be just fine. So they're a team where you say, hey, they did some great things because they're trying to win it all. Philadelphia, maybe not as many moves, but they add to their bullpen, and they needed to. They pick up Duran from Minnesota, who throws 100, and he's part of the back end. And they have the best rotation in baseball, I think, top to bottom. And they have a phenomenal lineup, all kinds of pop, Schwarber, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, Trey Turner. That's a team that, either one of those teams, if you told me right now they're going to unseat the Dodgers and win a pennant, I'd say completely possible. In fact, I like those teams more than I like the Dodgers right now. Dodgers have been just okay. All the pitching injuries, talked about that. So those two teams, post-trade deadline, they stand out to me. There's some teams certainly in the American League. The Yankees made a lot of moves. By the way, Ryan McMahon, so happy for Mac. He's been on the show before. You've watched him his whole career. He stepped right into New York, playing great defense as he always does. He's thrown out some big hits, had a walk-off hit on Friday. I think it was Friday, maybe it was Thursday, to win a ball game for the Yankees. And it's so important. Having grown up there, it's so important to get off to a good start when you're a newbie, because they don't care, their fan base, what you did anywhere else. They could give a shit what you did in Colorado. They want to see what you do as a New York Yankee. And there's not as much pressure on him. They're batting him, Aaron Boone, most days 8th in the lineup, which honestly I always felt like the Rockies would be really good. And this is not dismissive of the talent of Ryan McMahon, but I always felt like the Rockies, if Mac was hitting 6th or 7th in their lineup, then the Rockies would have a really good team. We know who he is offensively. He's a guy that's very streaky in a streaky sport, but he's always going to arrive at 20 to 24 home runs. He's going to get some clutch hits for you. He's going to have a 2-week period where he may be the hottest guy in baseball. And then he's going to have some times where, the offense is lean and there's a lot of strikeouts, but he never, ever brings the offense out to the field. And so he's off to a great start. And because I care about him a lot and I know what a great person he is, I'm thrilled for his start with the Yankees. But those first two teams I mentioned, especially in the National League where, we're immersed, being, Rockies, either fans like all of you or someone who works and watches every game for the organization. I thought the Padres and the Phillies certainly, helped themselves quite a bit. I'm always partial to the Mets, having grown up a Mets fan. They help their bullpen. They have to hit. And we'll see if they do. But it's going to be fascinating in the National League. And to me, the National League is better than the American League. Does that mean that the National League is going to win a world championship this year as they did a year ago? I don't know, but I think at the very top, I like the National League better than the American League teams. Detroit, I think they withstood their inevitable for any baseball team, 2-week period where they didn't play well. Big AJ Hinch fan. They've swung it. They got Tarek Skubal at the top. They're still really good. I want to mention one other team. They've been a great story this year. They're filled with baseball players. They have one big name, maybe in Christian Yelich, but that is the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers, as we tape this on a Saturday evening, they have the best record in baseball. They have a great rotation. They have a ton of pitching, and they grind out at bats. And over the last couple of days, they've been swinging the bat really well. They had 25 hits on Friday night. They backed it up, I think, with another huge outing on Saturday. So don't sleep on the Milwaukee Brewers. It's going to be a fascinating finish. I know the Rockies obviously are not part of it in terms of chasing a postseason berth. But if you're a baseball fan, it's going to be fun these final couple of months. And I think the Rockies, because they're going to be playing the Padres, they're going to be playing the Dodgers, they're going to be playing an Astros team, again, that's chasing a playoff berth. And the Rockies are playing their best baseball of the year, and they're playing inspired baseball, and it's a close-knit clubhouse. So it's going to be fun to see the Rockies part of this, and maybe they can pull some upsets and continue to do some exciting things as they build, obviously, toward the future. Hey, I'd be remiss on my way out if I didn't mention a couple of football items. First and foremost, thrilled that Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, is doing well. I mean, he bared his soul and shared what he had been through with the bladder cancer.
I couldn't, but slowly but surely I built myself back up to where I'm able, I'm strong, I'm ready. I'm still probably about 12 pounds down. I'm gonna get that right. I'm gonna fill these overalls up like no other. But it has been a tremendous journey, and I'm truly thankful that God is so good. God is so good. You have no idea. You have no idea how good God has been to me. For me to be here. You have no idea. Thank you. Thank you both for everything.
And I think it's so important when well-known people are able to share a very private thing like your health to remind people to get checked, to see their doctor. And that was a marvelous message that Deion sent when he met with the media earlier this week. And obviously we wish him all the best in his health and putting this cancer scare in the rearview mirror. And of course, all the best to the Buffs as they get going, and the same obviously in Fort Collins and down at the Air Force Academy. We'll get into college football in the not too distant future, certainly. One Bronco thing, hats off again to the Broncos in that Courtland Sutton, getting that deal done with Courtland Sutton is big. Courtland Sutton's a leader in that locker room. He's very productive on the field. He and Bo Nix have a chemistry that was developed over Bo Nix's rookie year that was clear and apparent. And so I think without messing around, the Broncos got that done. And that's a big 2 thumbs up for the Broncos. And also Zach Allen, who was tremendous last year and is another leader on the defensive side of the ball, and certainly, in that defensive line room. And they got both of those deals done. And now there's genuine excitement and enthusiasm around the Broncos getting going. There always is, because the Broncos are number one not only in this town, but in these parts. It's a huge pro football town. It's a great sports town overall. We know that. But I'm excited about seeing year 2 of Bo Nix. And I think the enthusiasm and some of the excitement about the potential of this team is warranted based on what they did last year, based on the strength of that defense and the emergence of a young quarterback. And we know that the sport centers so much around the guy who takes snaps. So it was a good week for Coach Prime. It was a good week for the Denver Broncos as well. And you know what? It's a good weekend for the Colorado Rockies. We'll do it again. Sorry we didn't have a guest this week, but I had a lot to get off my chest with the things that took place this week. So we'll do it again in 7 days. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well. I know you enjoyed the weekend so far out at 20th and Blake. Take care, everyone.